Welcome back, everybody. We are here for issue 7. So you'll notice I got the magazine offset. There's just a massive glare right here, over here. I decided to just kind of offset a little bit to kind of make up for that glare. And so here we are with issue 7, and let's go ahead and go through this. So we're going to learn a little bit about the YT1000, and yeah, so we'll learn a little bit about that. It's one of the Falcon's predecessors. And then we're going to learn about the crew facilities, which makes sense because we're going to be starting in the kind of the lounge area or what have you. So we'll be going through all of that. We're going to learn about Yavin and its moons. So that'll be kind of cool. We've learned a little bit about that, obviously. So that'll be kind of interesting. A little bit about the Masasi and Exarchun. Some behind the stuff about when they filmed for the Yavin 4. All right, so here we are. Here's our next parts. Okay, so let me see. We have our screws. Yep. Now I can tell you we're not going to use those screws for a little while. We've got the plate, and as you can see, I've already got it masked off. So I wanted to get this masked off. It's going to take me a little while. So I masked it off ahead of time, and I'm going to be priming it because I wanted to get it masked off so I can get the primer done, because the primer I want it to dry for at least a day before I spray it, because the primer is enamel and I use acrylic paints. So as long as the enamel paint is dry, then the primer, or as long as the enamel primer is dry, then the acrylics will stick just fine to it. So you can see here, I've got a few things kind of marked off. So what I did was the sides here, you can see it's got all these notches. The walls are gonna like fit down like a dovetail, right? So they're gonna fit along there, and I didn't want to gum this part up, so I went ahead and masked that part off the edges. So we've also got a couple little things here. This is where the Navicomputer thing's gonna be. This is where the bench is. The Djarek table is going to go right here. And then up here is going to be the little bed that Luke lays down in. So this part is not going to be painted. So I just masked over it so that way I didn't clog up the holes. So we have this, and then we have this. So this is the seat cushion for around the Djarek table. These are going to be for the bed up above. Okay, so we're going to be putting that together. And then we have these two parts. This is the interior portion of the bed. So we have those. And then you saw this part already. So this part is going to go right through here. Okay. And this is the top portion of that. So the bed will fit down inside of here. Okay. And then we have this, which is the cushion, and that's actually going to sit right there. So the cushion will go on top of that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to prime the floor, and let's see what else we got to do here. Okay. So one of the things I'm going to prime the floor, I already know that we're not going to get to it today, but so we're going to have we're going to take off these cushions, and we're going to neaten them up with files and all that kind of stuff. And then so it even tells you, use your file, use sanding blocks, whatever, clean it all up. All right. And up here, we're actually going to fit these cushion pieces these cushion pieces here, we're going to fit them into these. And let me see. So you can see those little slots here in the corners, right? So there's slots there, but you can also see, maybe, just barely. Let's see if we can get it so it focuses a little bit. Come on now. There we go. So you can see those other little ones right up here on the ends. So those are where some of the other cushions go, and it's going to be the same for both sides, right? So um, each side's going to have a couple extra cushions on it. So we will be doing that, and then the last part is we're going to glue the seat cushion down onto this. But before we glue this, I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and I want to paint this. So, I mean, this is going to be seen. Parts of it, anyway, are going to be seen. And as you can see here, so you see how the end has got that white bit? Now, this didn't come out of a sprue or anything. This is just how it came out off of their thing. So we're just going to clean up that white bit and make sure everything else is cleaned up. And then we'll mask this portion off because this is where we're going to glue. And we're just going to basically paint the sides. We may mask off these nubs because it pushes down on the floor. I don't care if the bottom gets painted. We just need the sides to get painted. Is really all we need. So let's go ahead and mask this off because I want to get that priming done. Let's get this done here. So that's what this tape was actually for here. Yeah, can't get it off now. Oh well. We'll just start over. All right, so I don't know the best way to do this. Let me just stick it all on here like this. I'll spray it upside down. Yeah, why not? I mean, it won't hurt anything, right? As long as I have all the parts masked off that I want to have masked off, it shouldn't really matter. And what we'll do is we'll kind of burnish these down. So if you don't know what that means, so we're going to take something like these tweezers here. We're going to use this flat edge, and we're just going to rub it along the edge that we're sticking this down to. Okay, so we're doing that so that way we get a good adhesion, and it gives a good seal. So, all right. So, I'll show a couple pictures that I found on the internet right now. And so what those are going to do is kind of demonstrate more or less the color. So there's a lot going on there, but I want to show what color we want to have. Pretty much all this stuff in the cargo area or crew area or whatever. So I have this Tamiya paint here, and this is German gray, German XF63. So this is a fairly dark gray, and I want a darker color. So what I think I'm going to do is, and I'll have to mix this up because I've had this for a few years. So I'll have to get this mixed up, and I might put in a little bit of silver into it. So we may take, what color is this? Oh, sorry. We're going to take one of our silvers, whichever one we have here. I have so many. This one that I've used. Well, this is neutral gray, so I think this is too light. This would be a silver. Anyway, so we're going to take one of our silvers, and we'll just add just a little bit of silver because I want just a hint of a metallic to it. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably add the Tamiya silver. So this is chrome silver. I'll add the Tamiya chrome silver to it because that way I have Tamiya mixing with Tamiya. And that's the color we're going to paint it. Like I said, it'll be painted off camera. So what I'll do is I'll get the primer on these, and then we're going to come back and we'll put together um, the bed. We'll get that put together, and then afterwards after these are painted, this is painted, we'll get the seat cushion on, and I'm going to have some extra stuff to do with this seat cushion, but that will come a little bit later. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's get this primed and we'll be back. Okay, so those are primed, and what we got to do is we need to get this open. We need to get these pieces off. Get them off of the sprue. There we go. I don't know if I told you, but I think it was issue 5 maybe that I didn't have these. Well, I found it. So I just want to make sure that I let you know. I can't remember if I told you or not. But yeah, so I went and found them. So okay, so to take these off, we're going to go with my sprue nippers. Remember, these are very sharp and they're only used for clipping stuff off of sprues. So the instructions say if you don't have room, you can clip this first and blah 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 blah. But we have plenty of room, and so what we're going to do is, the nice thing about these is they cut very flat. So all the advice is, you can cut it here and then nip it off shorter, but we're going to go, and I know why they tell you to cut it here, because if you cut it here, so we cut it here and here, then what we can do is cut it there, there, and I guess there. Right, so then we get this off. We'll take that off and that off. I just want to show you, one of the nice things is, if you look here on this, it tells you it's issue 7. So if you're having a hard time finding these, and initially I was scared that I wasn't going to find all of these the way I wanted to, because I put them all, stored them away, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, just find the one that says issue 7. You're good to go, or whatever issue you're on. So I'm not going to cut this all the way up against it, because I don't want to accidentally cut the, so you can see this here, I don't want to actually cut, get this turned, so I'm just, a fraction, like a 16th or less, 32nd even, away, and I just don't want to accidentally cut the cushion. So I'm just going to cut this here, and then we'll do the same thing on this side. Just a little bit away. So that releases the sprue, and we'll keep this just in case there's something stupid I want to do with it. All right, so I'm just going to take that part of the sprue off, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to nip it close, but not all the way up against it. All right, so now we have that cushion off. So let's go ahead and clean this up first. So I got these handy dandy little sanding blocks, okay, and this one I actually used already, because there was a rough spot on the floor, the edge that, with the dovetail, and so I cleaned that up because I wanted to make sure that when I go to glue that in place, it actually glues in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, let's do the medium. Let's see how long this takes us. So we may just say forget it and come in with like a hobby knife or something and clean this up. In the movies, this seat, the bottom cushion, and this is how it's going to sit in here. The bottom cushion goes all the way around like this does. It's a half circle. But the top cushions stop essentially right there, and they go to here. So the top cushions are only about a third or what have you, right? But on this, and we'll see this in another couple different issues, the cushions continue on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to continue the cushions on, which is going to require me to, I want to try to make this the way that it was in the movie. So in the movie, this was kind of built up. It was kind of metal through here, and it just kind of came off and blocked up and then went straight down. So I'm going to try to do my best to build that. I've never done anything even remotely like that before. We're gonna see how it goes, and if all goes well, so I got two options. I can either use some putty, which this is the sole reason why I bought this putty. Well, not the sole reason. I knew there was going to be some puttying that I was going to need to do later. So I have this putty, and from what I understand, there's some good stuff. Right, so white putty. Uh, so I have this, and um, so I could use that and basically build it up, and then sand it smooth and paint it and all that kind of stuff. Or um, someplace, uh, I was looking for what was called styrene, and I was looking for this styrene, and oh, here we go. I could not find styrene easily. My wife didn't know what it was. She had gone up to Hobby Lobby, and she didn't know what I was talking about, and she was too busy to ask. It was right around Christmas or whenever, I don't know. But I think they were about ready to close or something. So she didn't have the time to ask anybody. So the question, I wanted her to just get me a couple strips of styrene, nothing special. Well, she couldn't get it. So what I thought about doing is using this. I've seen other people for model railroading. I've seen people actually build stuff out of this. And this, I don't know what type of plastic this is. Obviously, it's a for sale sign. I don't care what it's for, because I'm just going to cut a couple little strips out here off the sides, and I'm going to see if I can use this to make the part that I want. So I'm going to try this first, and then if that does not work, then we'll use the putty. So if I can't get this to work, completely fabricating it, then we'll go with the putty, which will be a bit different. So, but we don't have to worry about that right now because that we're not going to get to that point just yet. Okay, so let's stick our parts of our sprue over here and get some of this stuff out of the road. We don't need these contour sticks right now. And let's go ahead and clean off, get this stuff off the sprue. Okay, so, all right. Okay, so if you noticed, I'm clipping right up to the edge here. Let me get this kind of lined up. You can actually see. So I'm actually clipping right up to the edge as I clip these off because these don't have that thin edge. I don't have to worry about cutting this, especially because I can go along the long edge. I don't have such a short, small little piece to be able to cut. So I'm not keeping that. I don't know. I actually thought of an idea for that. We'll see if it works. So nothing else to clip out right now. So we can put those away. Now we got some cleaning up here to do as well. So we'll go ahead and get started on that and go from there. Alright, so those edges are cleaned up. Just gonna make sure that all of these edges are clean as well. So some pretty fine edges, and I just want to make sure that we don't have any extra flashing or anything that's, pardon me, going to affect the way that this glues in. because I can tell you, I think these are going to be some pretty tight gaps. All right, so here we have this stuff, and I'm going to take this. Now, look, one of the things I like about this is, so this is what's left over of the glue from the stuff that I glued in issue 6. Okay, so all I have to do is take my fingernail, and I don't even have much of a fingernail here, and just kind of rub it against there. Look, that's the super glue. You see that? Comes right out, which means I got to use that over and over and over again. That's so great. It's a pretty good container. All right, so large cushion located through the holes indicated. Try all the cushions before gluing to make sure they fit, and sand or file them down to size if necessary. All right, so this is very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to test fit these first. So this fits fine. Yeah, let's test fit this one. This one fit fine. Now, one of the things I want to make sure is if it doesn't fit, can I rotate it around to get it to fit a different way? All right, so those fit fine. So let's try these ones. Okay, so it's showing the picture here. Hold this up for you guys. So you can see kind of the way that this, sorry, hard to hold when all the weight's on the other side. Okay, so you see how this cushion, I don't know if you can tell how that's shaped. It's hard to tell for sure, but let me show you. Let's get like that. Okay, so you can kind of see how that's shaped. So you got a pointy end and then the rounded end. This curve, the curve of it goes on the inside, right? So we want the pointy end facing up. All right, so again, I'm just going to test fit these and make sure that they go in there. All right, so that fits in pretty well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to test fit these, and then I'm going to leave them kind of where they're sitting. So that way I can say, yeah, I test fit those and that fit well. Okay, so that fits okay. Now, here's an interesting part. After you get these in there, which one's this one? Okay, so there's some that are a little bit different. So these, okay, let me show you the difference here. All right, so you have essentially two different types of cushions. I don't know if you can see that. So this one is like the one I showed you before. It's got one pointy in, one curved in. And that's this side here on my thumb is the inside part, right? So this is the outside that's actually going to be glued together. So if you see how that's different than the one that is on the left, this is just a partial round. It's the same, it's symmetrical on both sides. So those parts, and this is the same type here. So these parts will actually fit, and it'll be easier to show you once I start gluing them in. But this is actually going to fit up like that, and it shows it here on this one. Let me hold that up here. So you can see it's talking about that here, and here it shows it, right? So you see the extra piece, and from what I've seen before, these are the pieces that you really have to look out for when you're putting those in place, is because that makes it for a very tight fit. Okay, those are all done. Let's get this up out of the way so I have room. All right, let's get some glue. We're going to put a few drops in there. All right. So let's just do, I'm just going to use this to knock off dust because reasons. And by this, I mean that. You didn't really see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some glue here and I'm just going to put it in this thing, right? I'm just going to put it in these slots. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this cushion right down on there. Okay, come here, cushion. And so I'm just going to press that in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these symmetrically. So I put that cushion on. We're going to put this bottom cushion on. Let's wipe this one down real quick, just to make sure no dust, because we did all that sanding. Make sure there's no dust that's going to prevent this from getting stuck down. All right. There we go. Glue, glue, glue. Da, 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 da. All right, so the nice thing about super glue is it dries pretty quick. Okay, so now we're going to do this side. A little bit of glue. A little bit of glue. All right, and make sure we go right side down. If we go like that, that would be incorrect. Okay, so right side's down. This in place. Hold it in place for a second or two. All right. Now let's do this next side. Glue, glue, glue. Glue, glue, glue. And make sure we get the right side going down. And we're just going to hold it in place. All right, so that one's done. All right. Just wiping these ones off. I don't know if I did those little cushions there, but whatever. I mean, if it comes apart, it is almost about right. It's the Falcon, for crying out loud. It falls apart. Okay. That's a stick. So the trick is to get that to stick without sticking to my thumb. All right, so that moved a little bit. All right. Should be stuck by now. We'll find out. Doot, doot. All right, make sure we get the right side down. So I'm holding it into it as well as trying to push it down to make sure I've got a nice firm seating along the bottom. Okay, so there's a couple of ways I could do this next part. So one of the things I could try to do is, because there are the remnants of some divots here, I could try to put that in there, or what I could try to do maybe is put this together. I don't know if there's a right way or wrong way this goes together, but now one of the things I did check is, so you can see how this is discolored and all that. When you put it in here, when it actually fits inside of here, when it goes inside there, you don't see any of this. So this is just a housing for the cushions. So we don't have to worry about that. So we won't, sorry, I bumped my brush. So I don't have to worry about cleaning that up. So what we could do is something like this, and then put that cushion in there, and then maybe use something like this to get it to sit in there properly. So this is, yeah, okay. So we could do that, and I think I will. All right, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is, let's glue this together first, okay? So what we're going to do is, we're going to put a touch of glue on these 4 pegs. Actually put a little bit more on that one. All right, and then glue these bad boys together. All right. All right. So there's a bit of a kind of a edge along here, and I was concerned that we'd have to, clean all that up, but we don't have to. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a drop here, a drop here, and then we'll just drop this in place, hopefully, because otherwise it's going to be really horrible. Oh, come on. Get your butt in there. Come on. There we go. It's in. That one's in. Let's do this other side. Glue. Glue. Okay. Glued in place. I've seen some of these that were put together where you can see all the cushions in there. So I've seen some of these that were put together and the cushions were like half hanging out and everything. They're like, whatever, it's good enough. But I'm pretty happy with how that went together. That went together pretty slick. I mean, it's not 100%. You can see that little gap there. It's not 100% like super smooth, but hey, it's good enough for me. Now, one of the things I will admit is, let's see if we can see it here. Let's see if there's a picture of it in here. One of the things that you'll notice is with the Falcon, and you can kind of see it here, and maybe one of the other pictures will show a little bit better. So I don't know if you can see it. So this goes up, and then it raises up, almost like it's so like the feet are lower than the head, type of thing, and then the top raises up the same way. So it's not a perfect oval like this. It's actually kind of a really slightly bent S or something. It's kind of off center. So this is glued when everything else gets done, and so we don't even put this in here this time. We're essentially waiting for that primer to get done. We're done with this glue right now. We can actually micro brush in the trash. So let's make sure we got, other than gluing this is the last part. Gluing the cushion onto there. That's it. The only things that we're actually putting together this time is that. So now this issue, and I'll talk about this a little bit, maybe in the bonus stuff, but this issue actually talks about some additional techniques for painting, and it shows the cockpit. So talks about the dry brushing, right? So it tells you how to dry brush. Actually tells you what to do, and I've had to do this before. If you kind of get a little bit extra on someplace where you don't want it, it says if you get a little paint where it isn't wanted, you may be able to pick it off with the point of a cocktail stick. In England, they call it cocktail sticks. Um, any of my friends from overseas, over in the UK, you guys can back me up on that one. Here we call them toothpicks, and then it talks about the wash here, the thin wash, and so yeah, it's kind of interesting. So they started giving little extra tips and stuff on that kind of thing. Um, so that's in this issue as well. Well, this is actually going to end up being a bit of a longer issue than I thought it was going to, because no more than what we were doing. I thought it'd go quick. I will be reducing some of it because of, I'm gonna fast forward through the sanding and stuff. But we'll come back when that part is painted, and I'll show you how the paint came out, and then we'll get that glued together, and then that will be it for this issue. And then we'll move on with issue 8. Woohoo! All right, see you after a while.